Hello and welcome back to another episode of Charla Football. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo Jerry Tavares, accompanied by Jonathan Tomas. As you guys can tell, we're doing things a little different. We're kind of trying to change the room up a little bit. Typically, we'll do these videos like at our own homes and pretty much, but we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna see how that comes out. Let us know what you guys think down below. But first and foremost, how are you guys feeling today?
Doing good, man. Happy to be here in person with you guys. Finally, got a whole day meeting, hanging out after a few weeks of doing this, trying something different, see how things go. Tomas?
Bro, doing just fine. Finally, we got a little change up in the setup. Just finished watching the sleeper of a match, but it's all right. Here we are.
So, like I said, we're gonna switch things up. So let me know what you guys think. This whole room is gonna be hopefully changed by the end of the year, but there's a lot of Euros going on right now, and I want to talk about it. I know we covered the match about Germany and Scotland a few days ago. I think that's the plan for content moving forward. We're gonna do every 3 or 4 days, at least twice a week for sure. We want to get content out, especially when Copa America comes out. We want to get a lot of content out for you guys. But first and foremost, let's talk about what has happened recently. Let's talk about the groups. I think the best way to move about it is go by groups first and foremost. So we'll start with Group A. We had Germany, Switzerland, Hungary, and Scotland in the group. Germany, as we all know, they got their win, and Switzerland got their win. That was kind of an impressive result. I think a lot of people had Hungary as like a dark horse for the tournament. I don't know what you guys think about that.
No, I mean, I don't know if we aired that video, but I don't even know if it was just a conversation between me and you, but I said that Switzerland's going to come in second in that group because of what they've been able to do at these past World Cups.
I think that was actually in one of the videos that we had our predictions. You said that Switzerland were going to beat Hungary, or you thought that they were going to come above Hungary in the group.
Yeah.
And I said Hungary were going to be like not a dark horse, but they were going to put up a little bit more of a fight. But I mean, we saw in that game, they were kind of disappointing. And I mean, they only have Szoboszlai, honestly. So
Yeah, I mean, Szoboszlai is the only well-known player on there. Besides Gulak, who's also the keeper. Willy Orban, more Bundesliga fans know, not like worldwide, but see, I wasn't there for the prediction. I mean, as a casual, you would think Switzerland's going to win, knowing their history, always going to the World Cups. Shaqiri, who didn't play, but he always tends to perform for them. But regardless, they got their W. Good showing from Hungary, but
I think Swiss have like too much experience. I think that's like the main talking point regarding the Swiss and the Hungary game is just the Switzerland players. They've been in these situations before, especially in the Euros. They tend to show up. I remember when they beat France. Yeah, it was in 2020.
Yeah, 2021, 2021.
Yeah, so they've been in this situation before, and I do believe that they'll probably make it out the group. But we're not going to spend too much time on that because I think it's time to move on to like the bigger teams, the ones that really made an impact. And I think Spain for sure and Croatia are one to talk about. I think that's in Group B, right? Yeah, Group B. And they honestly left such a good impression on me, the way they played. And I was kind of let down by Croatia, I'm not going to lie. I thought they were going to come out with a little bit more punch. I thought the game was going to be a little tighter, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought about the game.
I actually thought that Croatia would have gave Spain a better game. Just because of what Croatia's been able to do at these past 2 World Cups. And, I mean, I just expected more from them, especially defensively. They looked so defensively terrible, out of sync. I mean, even in the third goal, the whole defensive line kind of just stands there and watches Carvajal score and celebrate. It was just terrible. I mean, good part from Spain, though, because I thought that they were inexperienced, but then, looking at the lineup, you see all these players that they brought out. It was a good mix of veterans and youngsters.
Yeah.
Where you have, like, in the youngsters, you have, Lamine Yamal and a couple more players. And then you also have Carvajal, Nacho. I mean, Alvaro Morata scored as well. It's like the third best scorer in the Euros.
Yeah, for Spain.
For Spain?
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
What I love about Morata is that he always shows out for La Roja. For whatever reason, he gets a lot of hate, like in the club level, because he is kind of inconsistent. I think the downfall of his game, he misses a lot of sitters, offside constantly. He kind of gives me like Fernando Torres vibes when Fernando Torres was not in his prime, like the worst version of him. But Morata, I mean, you can tell like when now with more experience, he's starting to step up, and hopefully that goal gives him a lot more confidence moving forward.
Question I wanted to ask you guys that I saw quite a lot on social media was, do you guys believe that Croatia's golden era is over? What do you guys think about that? Now they're saying just because they lost one game, 3-0 to Spain, they're saying no, Croatia can't compete with the top dogs no more. Luka Modric is heading towards retirement. Rakitic is nowhere to be seen no more with the Croatian team. Perisic is not the team player he once was. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I honestly I can't think of any top players that they're bringing out. I mean, most of their guys are Guardiola is the only one that you can probably mention, but he's a defender. The defender can only do so much. Oh shit, he can only do so much. But realistically, most of their experienced players are just past that age. You know, they really like there's not much they can do. Kovacic, she's 30. Like we said, Modric is old. Kostic, Perisic, like there's not much that they can really do. And I mean, most of the young players that are coming in, I mean, they haven't really made an impact in the national team just yet. So I would say it's probably over for them. At least
it really showed against Spain too. When I mean, the likes of Lamine Yamal, players that are just much younger, running laps around them. I think by the end of the first half, they're already down 3-0, right? The second half, they kind of just sat down with the same score. And it just shows the game of football nowadays is moving towards more faster players, which is why top clubs are going for younger players who are more agile, possibly have more in their techniques. And teams like Croatia, who are playing still with players, you know, late in their late 30s. We saw Modric subbed out within like the 60th minute. I think he was already done. Same thing with Real Madrid. He's not getting the same playing time he once did. But I mean, that's what happens. Players get older. Like football goes on, life goes on. And whether it's over or not, Croatia did a good run. They went to the 2018 final against a very, very strong French side. And if it's the end of it, unfortunately, that's what it is. But who knows? Maybe they'll because Guardiola he's Croatian. Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah, he's a great player. We see him always like pushing forward in the attack, and I think he got that from Pep's style of play, which probably Tomas can touch up a little more on. But in my opinion, I believe their golden era is over. I think Spain really showed their vulnerable side. I mean, 3-0 down by the half. The Euro opener is insane.
Yeah, like I said, I think Spain definitely underrated. I think you had them as disappointments, but I think. I mean, would you think your like stance would change after that result? Because now who they have next? They have Italy and Albania. Albania, they put kind of a fight against Italy, but I mean that's going to be the real test, honestly, between Spain and Italy. That game.
I still don't believe that Spain will win this Euro. I don't.
Yeah.
Because they may get out of the group stage, and I'm not saying that as in it's possible that they won't. They most likely will. But also in football, there's also that possibility of, shitting the bed, which is what happens a lot. But I mean, saying that Croatia's golden generation is over is kind of, how would I say? It's not that you're wrong, but let's review that Croatian team. When was their golden era? In 2018?
18 probably.
Up until 2022? I mean, how many players did they lose in 2022 and they still made it to the semifinal? My thing is that those teams aren't really that hard to replicate because it's more of a system. Because the system really gave a boost. Because let's be honest, like Perisic, like he was a decent striker, but he wasn't a top 5 striker, and he wasn't world class. Let's go Rakitic at that point in 2018. Where was he playing at? He was already at Sevilla? I mean, he still wasn't even in one of his best moments. And in this past 2022 World Cup, I mean, their holding mid was Brazovic, which he is pretty.
He's one of the better
holding mids in the world,
but he's already in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like this system of play isn't that, how would I say, difficult to replicate. It's not difficult to find a good team. You just need to find players that will really give it up for the shirt. And these youngsters, maybe they were just scared coming out to this Euros because it's like a completely new squad with literally just Modric and Guardiola, who's also new to the squad technically. He barely got into that World Cup list. He gets that big transfer after the World Cup. So it's not that the golden era is over. It's just it's a new era and needs a development.
Yeah, it's going to take some time.
It's going to take some time for Croatia to get back to once they were. I'd give it, maybe let's see how they do in the World Cup. But yeah, for that era where we had Modric and Rakitic, I mean, remembering Modric and Rakitic in their prime, they didn't even get out of the group stage.
Yeah,
they got bunked out by Mexico. So I mean, we'll see what happens in the future for them.
Speaking about eras, let's move over to Italy and Albania. Italy and Albania started off with a bang, and it started off with a surprise. Albania scoring in the first 23 seconds, I believe. and it's the fastest goal ever scored in the Euros. I think in that moment, I mean, I didn't think Albania were going to win the match, but I thought they were going to get a result, especially given how they were started that game. But Italy, I mean, they showed their their experience. Definitely, they have a few experienced players. They have a few youngsters, but they've especially have players that were already in that winning squad when they last won the Euros, like Chiesa, for example. For whatever reason, he only shows up for the Euros. I mean, club level, he does decent, but he's always injured. That's his kind of main problem right now. But do you guys think this Italian team has what it takes to defend their title?
I am a big fan of this Italian team. I believe before, obviously, they didn't make the last two World Cups, I believe, even though they won the last Euro. They have the likes of players like we all know Jorginho, but besides him, they have a pretty young squad. I mean, Donnarumma's still not that old. They brought in, finally got their number 9. I think that's what they were looking for. I think they brought in Scamacca, who's had a fantastic season at Atalanta, the Europa League. I mean, they won the whole thing, but I think he tore down Liverpool just by himself. I believe that he bagged the hat trick against them. Mm-hmm. But besides that, I want to talk about a little Albanian side. They were doing amazing. I think I was telling you that I started the game at the second minute. I was like, okay, I haven't missed anything. The game just started, and boom, I turn on the TV. They're already down 1-0. I'm like, okay. But it gives you a hindsight of what the Euros are, what these major tournaments are, that you never know what's going to happen. And talk about these Albanian fans. We heard the commentators speaking of it over and over, how they were saying, oh, there's probably like 10,000 Italian fans in here and over 60,000 Albanian fans. Like the whole country came. And you could really see it as soon as Albania would have it. Even when Italy was dominating, Albania would have a shot on target or even off target, and you hear, ooh, like the whole stadium going crazy. And it kind of reminds you of the 2022 World Cup when Morocco was going through the stages. They had the whole country with them. Mm. Every time they scored a goal or they got a close chance, they got their whole country behind them. And obviously, that's not what any countries lack. It's always great to have the fans there, but it's always good to have that 12th man on the field, definitely, which is great. But this Albanian side is exciting. Italy not taking anything away from them. As soon as they were down 1-0, they started picking everything back up. They tied it within, 10 minutes, I believe it was, from that set piece goal. And then let's talk about that Barella goal, man. For me, that's my favorite goal so far this Euro Cup. I mean, there's still a lot more to go, but the outside of the boot finish was clean, spectacular. I can't even.
Yeah, no, I can't deny that. It's one of my favorite goals too. But before we touch on favorite goals, we'll kind of say that towards the end. Right. Let's just kind of keep going with what we've got. Speaking about like what you said right there, the Italian, like that comeback and the Albanians just kind of showing out. I like that in this Euro so far, what we've seen, there's been a lot of like shocks pretty much. Yeah. So that's going to touch on the next game between Poland and Netherlands. Poland opened up the scoring. Netherlands ultimately won in the last dying minutes. But that's what I really like about the Euro so far. It's just a lot of opening, a little ups and downs. It's not like completely one-sided. Maybe like the bigger nations. Yeah.
First group stage games, settling in.
Yeah, a little bit of testing the water for sure. But I think this is going to be a Euro to remember for sure.
Yeah. I mean, touching back on the Italian versus Albanian side, it was really exciting looking into how they scored so early, and it's a good goal. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, it's a mistake from the throw-in. Okay, but, he tries his luck, and he obviously he scored. But looking into the stands, like, it felt like they were playing in Albania.
Yeah.
It felt like they were like a home team, and they were having fun with it, for sure. And the way that Italy just comes back is insane.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you get when they're a powerhouse at the end of the day. Like, there's no denying that Italy still have class, and you can't consider them not favorites, pretty much. They're always going to be favorites in big tournaments, even if they don't have the best squads. I mean, maybe a few years ago, there would be a surprise if they went far into a tournament, but at least with this current generation of players, they have a lot of quality. So, I mean, it's not completely surprising that they were able to turn it around. But I think it's just been crazy that most of these big teams are suffering, especially in like the dying minutes of the game, which we'll touch up on. Like, we're going to talk about the Belgium, England, all that stuff.
But it also goes back to, I don't know if I said it last episode, but I said that Albania could have decided this group, not because they'd advanced, but, shocking Spain, or even if they just kill Croatia, they'd kill their hopes. So, I mean, imagine if they shock Spain and Croatia advance, even though they lost 3-0 to Spain, it'd be insane.
Yeah, anything's possible. And that's what like I said, that's one of my favorite things about the Euro so far. Moving into that Poland-Netherlands game. So a game where Poland opened up the scoring. Netherlands came back in the dying minutes with Weghorst I think on his first touch he gets the winner, which is pretty crazy. He's like such an underrated striker. He's like those. I've been seeing a lot of tweets about like these kind of number nines where they're saying that they're like natural number nine, like old school number nines, like just tall, big, physical. Like they'll hold the ball up, they'll score for you. Not like these like systematic type players. They're just natural players that are just there to score goals. And I mean that's exactly what he did. But I mean talking about Poland, they played a very decent game against Netherlands. There was a lot of moments even for them to go 2-0 up, and the Netherlands kind of disappointed me up until, like I said, the dying moments of the game. That's when they really chose to woke up. So I don't know if you guys really have anything to say about that, but
I mean, I didn't really get the chance to watch this game. I mean, it was yesterday on Father's Day. I was with my dad in the morning having breakfast, but I did keep up with it. And I'm looking at the stats right now because I didn't get to watch the whole game. But 66% possession is insane. 21 shots, like they pretty much dominated this whole game.
Mhm.
And even though Poland had the lead early on, they could have easily won this game. I mean, we've seen many games where a team is in possession the whole game and end up losing the game towards the end. But like you were talking about Weghorst, we saw that in the 2022 World Cup, once again, going back to the last major tournament, where Weghorst, I don't know if he was already in the game. I think he subbed in right against Argentina. He scored that set piece goal. And that's why they keep calling him. They need a player who will consistently just come in, even if it's the last 10 minutes. If he's going to score a goal for you, he's going to score a goal for you. And you need that goal whether to win, tie, no matter what it is. And how you guys are talking about that original striker. We've been seeing a lot about that in this Euro. I mean, Italy has Scamacca, who's a big striker. We just saw right now. Austria has Arnautovic, another West Ham striker who used to play. I'm talking about Weghorst, who's I believe 6'6", like basketball player height, but he's still out here scoring goals, dude, which is great for the Netherlands. But I mean, the fact that they need Weghorst to come in the last 10 minutes just to score a goal, and they have the likes of Memphis Depay, Cody Gakpo, which I'm not taking nothing away from him because it seemed like he had a pretty good game. He scored the first goal.
It was kind of accidental, but
exactly. But the Netherlands, when you look at their team, they have such a great team. Like every player on the starting 11, you know them. You've seen them somewhere. The likes of Dumfries, Nathan Ake, Virgil van Dijk, even their goalkeeper Flacken. Like he had an amazing game against Man City. Tomas probably remembers that when he had, I believe, he had 9 saves against them. And this team looks like the team that can possibly go forward. But as we've been seeing lately, the best teams have been kind of struggling. I think we're only 3-4 days into this Euro Cup, and it's already giving a lot of surprises.
Yeah.
So we'll see what it has to come out. But
I mean, if you watch that England game, like they struggled terribly.
Right.
Versus Serbia. And to the point where they're like checking their clocks. They're all like, the game's over, like end it.
Yeah.
And it's still like a minute left. They're just panicking.
That's what, like I was saying, like a lot of the bigger teams are kind of just asking for the ref to blow the whistle towards the end of the game.
We've seen the French game today, and it's the same thing. They're just really just panicking. I mean, Mbappe comes back on the field to lay down and waste some more time.
Waste time. So I don't know. Like I think we're gonna see a definite surprise throughout the tournament, or some I mean, that's kind of what happens in every tournament. There's always that one team that surprises everybody. I know this one. We're just gonna quickly touch up on it. The Slovenia versus Denmark game. I think the only thing I really have to say about this game is that Denmark a lot of people have Denmark as maybe like a dark horse just because of that one run that they had in the 2016 Euros, I believe, right? Or is it 2020?
Not 2016.
2016 Euros when they went to the semifinals, right?
2020 Ericsson got like a heart attack.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Now, and in this game, Ericsson did score, and that was nice to see. Get him come back on the national team on the big stage. I mean, he was at the World Cup and now in the Euros, and
after a shaky season,
Mhm.
Really good to see him out here, man.
Definitely. And I mean, they did a draw against Slovenia in kind of it was an entertaining 1-1. It wasn't completely boring, but like I said, I think Denmark have that potential to be dark horses. They do have good players, but they somehow, when it comes to the big tournaments, especially since the World Cup, they had such a horrible World Cup. I think it's going to be the same thing in this one. I think they're going to kind of disappoint. I think I had them as my disappointment since a lot of people do like to list them as dark horses. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to add about Denmark or Slovenia, but
no, completely watching the game. Yeah, I think they're at this point because Slovenia deserved to win.
Mhm.
They scored a goal and they continued to attack. I mean, they were attacking for pretty much the whole game. Denmark was really on their heels for most of the end of the first half and literally the rest of the second half. And when Slovenia gets that goal, I mean, it is fortunate that the defender's in front of him and it kind of like ricochets off of his And I mean, Slovenia doesn't stop. They score this goal, and they keep going, they keep attacking. They're looking for the win. They're not afraid of Denmark at all. So, I mean, when a team like Slovenia isn't afraid to go for a win instead of sitting back and defending, that's like a team you would root for.
Definitely. And then they're in the same group as Netherlands and Poland, so that's going to be a very
Yeah, I mean, Slovenia has a chance to advance.
definitely. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Poland, not the scariest team. Netherlands, we saw they weren't that scary. Like they on paper they do look scary, but overall I don't know. But a team that of course a lot of people have high hopes for because they have probably one of the best starting 11s in the world class players from top to bottom and even off the bench is England. England, like who we said, towards the end of the game, they're just asking for that final whistle to be blown because Serbia was giving them a fucking fight. And that's what I like about the Serbian team. They had a lot of bite to them, a lot of hunger. Unfortunately, they couldn't get that goal to tie the match. But first, let's talk about Bellingham. Again, in a big moment, in a white shirt, this time for England, he comes through. And at 20 years old, that's just pretty crazy to me.
I mean, after the season of his life and his first season with Madrid, like we saw him once again at this Euro, his first Euros. I think 13 minutes in, he already came and scored a goal. And we saw that whole play. He was trotting from the midfield, going all the way up, doing much better. In my opinion, Kane and Foden were up there lost, but like Tomas was saying, Gareth Southgate is not playing Foden and to his best ability. And I believe we saw that a lot towards the second half. They were struggling, and he was not making these subs. Instead of putting in these attacking players, he brought in, was it Conor Gallagher, I believe it was?
Gallagher was the first.
Yeah, and everyone was complaining, like, where is Cole Palmer? Where is the likes of just the other star players, basically? And I was not convinced by England at all. I mean, their fans are thirsty for another title because the last, was it 2-3 tournaments now? They've been doing a great. I mean, the 2018 World Cup, they went all the way to the semifinal. The last Euros, they disappointed once again. And the one before that, they lost to Iceland, which they lost before this in a friendly. So then no one's convinced by them right now. I mean, it's one thing how you're saying to have the best players on paper, but you have to deliver. Once you're on the field, you have to deliver, show that you guys have that chemistry together. I know every tournament is not the same players, but it's a lot of players that also have that experience from the last ones. I mean, Gareth Southgate is not no new coach. He knows these players obviously on a first-hand basis, but he's known them for many years. But the fact that I'm not taking any way for Serbia because they have a great squad. Like you were saying, they play hard, they fight hard. Kostic, who I might have said earlier for Croatia, I don't know, he's Serbian, but he was playing tough. Even though he got injured, he's one of their best players. Obviously, we all know Vlahovic was a great striker, had that great strike. He had like that turnaround shot against them. Mitrovic too, who was out there shooting. I mean, for me, Serbia, all really had to do was take those shots. I noticed when they got to the box, they were trying to make those little passes, trying to make those little tiki-taka type plays. But, I mean, Vlahovic really showed that if you take that shot, you can create a chance. Who knows, maybe another tap in, get a corner going in. But honestly, I had hopes for them tying up because they looked like they wanted it more than England. England just looked like they were chasing the game from like the 60th minute, I believe it was. Kane maybe had like 12 touches the whole game. Maybe the second half he had like a handful of them.
Yeah, he kept getting dropped. And
he would have the ball and get dispossessed right away. Like it's not an English side. I mean, we can't say anything. It is the first game we saw in the World. I keep bringing back the World Cup, but for a reason. We saw Argentina lose the first game, and then obviously you all know what happened. But even though it is the first game, the fans want them to win. If you expect your team to win the whole thing, you don't want them to start off with the bouncy win. I mean, a win is a win. Don't get me wrong, but is it really convincing anybody?
Yeah.
Your next opponent, is it not giving them confidence to come stronger against you, play stronger against you?
Yeah, who is their next opponent, actually?
Denmark. Exactly. But for England, man, these fans, they deserve a lot more. We all know that it's coming home song, but hey, it's got to keep going. See what's going to go on this tournament. A lot of surprises going on. See if Cole Palmer finally gets his chance to sign. Everyone wants him to play. If he gets his time to play out there, I'm hoping for a goal or two because he's had a great season. On Twitter, I saw people were calling him give me a penalty or give me death. But, I mean, we'll see, man. We'll see. What do you guys think about it?
I mean, like I said, England, they have a great squad. They have a lot of talent in and around the squad everywhere. They just don't have the manager that's capable enough to get them, to the next level. I mean, when you're playing the likes of Phil Foden at left wing, when he doesn't really thrive there, when you have the likes of Cole Palmer on the bench, who he can benefit from playing that midfield. You just leave Rice by himself. You bring in, take off Trent Alexander-Arnold, trying to do this makeshift midfield thing. Like, He's not a midfielder. He's an okay right back. I mean, when it comes to like offensively, he's probably world class. He is world class, but defensively, yeah, they have better right backs. Kyle Walker is better for sure than Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, on the note of England, after that first game, I mean, a win is a win, and I'm sure that's all the England fans care about. But it doesn't give you confidence moving forward. I completely agree with that take. So on that note, I mean, with the rest of the tournament, how everything's shaping up, I mean, how far do you guys see in this England team really going?
If they continue like this, they're not getting past like what's the next round of 16?
Yeah.
They're not getting past that if they continue like this. Because when you have 3 right backs starting, that means you're not playing them in their natural position. When you don't play them in a natural position, they're not giving you their full potential. Right? Trippier left back, okay, that's not much of a change, right? But you go from Alexander-Arnold being a right back at Liverpool to putting him at right mid. Not only right mid, in instances he has to become a holding mid because he has to drop into that gap. When you have players like this, like you have better holding mids on your bench. Or even if you want to be a little bit more offensive, let's say Denmark's going to defend a little bit better versus you. So you want to add kind of like a fourth or one man that could go up a little bit more. Throw Cole Palmer in there, play with Declan Rice as the only holding mid. You put Cole Palmer and Foden in the midfield and just pick your left winger.
Like on that, like I don't understand what's the point of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, do you not trust Rice to be by himself?
Yes. Okay, like Declan Rice, he's not my favorite holding mid in the Prem. He's probably not even my favorite holding mid in Arsenal. But no diss. It's just he's a good player. He knows how to play forward. He plays forward well. He just does have some mental lapses where defensively he's not his best, and I know you know that as an Arsenal fan. Yeah, but I mean, he slept on that Bayern cross.
I know what you're talking about.
So he kind of has those mental lapses where he's asleep, but he's still a world-class player. Yes, maybe he needs a little bit more experience, but he's great. He can do that holding mid position by himself where he can recover balls, play out with his wing backs, play out through the midfield, especially if you have Foden and Cole Palmer as a double attacking mids. You'll find those instances where you can go forward easily. So I mean, that's what I would do. I know Southgate. He's like, he just wants, like, I don't know if he has a contract for every time he loses a game with England, but it'd be sad if this squad doesn't win the Euros because player by player, they're probably the most complete squad, player by player, and you can't find a functioning system for the most complete squad in the Euros. It's just sad.
No,
he had his games. Like he had his games to like, yeah, I got this real quick too. The friendlies he had, who was it? Cole Palmer, Mino. They had him starting in these friendlies, but why experiment now in the first group stage of the game? Like, this doesn't make sense. Why are you playing with 3 right backs and Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier, and Trent Alexander-Arnold? Like, they look not lost in the sense, but they weren't playing their best ability because they're all fighting for that same position. And it seems like Gareth Southgate is scared to not have one of these players included. Like, if he sits out Trent, obviously that's absurd. Or even Kieran Trippier, who, of course, he had a great World Cup, scored a goal in the quarterfinal of a free kick. But I mean, we saw this game. We didn't see much of them. It was mostly just the midfield that kept winning back. Obviously, Bellingham, he was winning most of the balls back. He was like saving the defense a lot of times. And I don't get why is now the time to experiment. Now we know like the next game he's gonna try a whole another starting 11, whether it starts or fails. Like they're still gonna go through. And then the whole thing with like the third place team going through is gonna give them that confidence. Like, okay, we could fix things in the next round. But I mean, that's a talk for the next episode. But we'll see how it goes, England. Good luck to you guys, but yeah, I'd be stressed out if I was English right now.
Yeah, especially like I'm big on trying to accommodate your players on how they played in their club because they play like this year round, right? And Harry Kane's he's not, it's not that he's not good. He's just not doing it for England.
Yeah, for England right now. I mean, in the past, he's definitely done it.
Yeah, he's definitely done it.
Recently, he's been kind of quiet for England. At Bayern Munich, probably one of the best seasons he's had.
Why are they so scared to sub in Ollie Watkins, who's been having an amazing season? Just sub him in the last 10 minutes, see what he can do. Let him go out there, hit the ball a little bit. I mean, Harry Kane, the last 15 minutes of the game, if he's not getting any, like, one-on-ones or any, like, balls through, he just seems lost. Like I was saying earlier, he barely had any touches in the game, I believe. I remember one play, he had the ball, tried turning the player, and lost it. Another counterattack for Serbia. And it's just, we'll see, man.
Yeah. I mean, like looking into the 60th, 70th minute, where he makes these subs, the subs that for me would have been the right subs is you don't take out Bellingham. It's like one of his better games. You know, he's fighting everything. You take out Kane, put Bellingham as a 9 because he played at Madrid as a 9 this whole season. So he can get you the job done, and he holds the ball up pretty well, and he creates play. Maybe he doesn't. Actually, I mean, he's a good goal scorer as well.
All around, he's a great goal
all around.
scorer, yeah.
All around. So he holds up the ball. He creates a play. He can score. Maybe he's not a natural 9, but he can do that position for you better than at least what Harry Kane was doing yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So take out Kane, put Bellingham up, put another 10. I don't know. Try to give Cole Palmer a chance or
drop Foden a little bit.
Drop Foden a little bit. Maybe play with 2 10s. Put Declan Rice as the only holding mid, and it'll give you a better performance than what they created yesterday. Mm-hmm. And don't even sub in. Who was that? The ponytail guy.
I knew it. Jared Bowen.
Why are you subbing those guys out? They're okay. They're okay in the Prem, right?
Yeah.
But they're not the best that England has to offer.
This is different. Yeah.
Moving forward, let's talk about today's game. So we talked about the France game a little bit, but we'll save that towards the end. We'll go in order. Start with Romania, Ukraine, early in the morning. A surprise, honestly, because a lot of people have Ukraine coming out of that group, but I think after this performance, I don't see them getting out this group. Especially, I mean, no one expected. I mean, personally, I didn't expect much from a Romania, but the way they played and 3-0 against a Ukrainian team who on paper have just better players all around, it's honestly very surprising. And I mean, nothing but applauses for this Romanian team.
Yeah, I remember I texted the group chat before because we were going to meet up. I was like, wait, Romania's up 3-0 right now. That's crazy because I'm not going to lie, I had Ukraine winning. They had Tirona obviously had an amazing season. Their top 2 strikers, which were Dovbik and how do you say his name? Tizganov. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The other guy. They had an amazing season. So I was saying, okay, they're gonna come in, make the keeper work, have shots on target all game. Obviously, they have players more. The Lunin. Oh, let's say Lenin. Lunin from Real Madrid, great keeper. Zinchenko, the defender from Everton. They just have players that are more notable, but this whole tournament is showing that it doesn't matter. It's all about passion at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Romania, once they scored that first goal, the crowd was going crazy. And it was not just a regular goal. I mean, it was a beauty of a goal.
That one, probably my favorite. My favorite goal of the tournament so far. Even though it did come off of a mistake from Lunin. Yeah. And, I mean, I want to talk about that right now. Just real quick, talk about Lunin. Because, I mean, we all know he's been world-class this whole season. To come in for Courtois in a moment where Courtois, you know, he's injured for most of the season, and the way he stepped up, especially against City, and essentially taking Madrid to the final. That's what he did. But then to get benched the day of the final, and I don't know how true it is about his stomach issues that he had the day of or day before, which led him to not travel with the team and not play the final. But Courtois, one of his first games back, I think it was his second, third match back, his first Champions League start. I mean, he played well. Don't get me wrong, that final, but I mean, as a keeper. When your confidence is at all-time high and then you're getting told, oh, you're not going to play the final, by the way, because, you know, Courtois back, by the way. You're how would you feel? What do you do in that situation? I mean...
It's gut-wrenching, man. But at the end of the day, you can't really blame him. You can't always blame the keeper for everything. Mm-hmm. You know, Ukraine... I mean, we've seen... Like I said, I'm an Arsenal follower. But Zinchenko has not been our best player this season. I think out of all the players, he's gotten the most bash. He's always. I remember against Man City, he gave away. Well, I don't know if it was a goal or a chance, but everyone's saying, "Oh, that's Pep's undercover agent." He's literally helping out his past teammates, and unfortunately, his confidence has dropped a lot. And just because a player is notable from playing on a good team years ago doesn't mean that they're still that player they once were. And then playing against a different squad, like you said, he had a really great season, Lunin. And even though he might have made a mistake or two, it doesn't mean that he's losing his confidence. It's just that sometimes you don't have that defense there to help you all the time. And unfortunately for him, I mean, he still won the Champions League, still a finalist starting for his country, going to represent his country. But it's unfortunate, you know, that many people thought that this country was going to come out and do great. And on the very first game, they were exposed by a Romanian team who has very any little notable players. I think I was telling them who's a player that you guys might know. Obviously, we all know George Hagi's son. And then the defender from Tottenham, I think Dragovic, something like that's his name, with the goatee and the long hair. They're really the only players that I know. But once again, being notable in this tournament doesn't matter. Whether you win or lose, that's just on performance and the squad that you're in, the depth, the team that you're playing against. And all this is just being shown within the first group stage matches. Like, I'm so excited to see what else is to come. Like,
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that kills confidence, especially like at any level, really. I mean, I remember when we were playing right here with in Long Beach, Bay Street. Like, I was like the top goal scorer for like 3 weeks, and then I come back and they give my position to somebody else. So that obviously kills your confidence as a player, because you're just thinking, I'm performing good, I'm performing to the best of my ability, and you're just like, and they're benching me. So you think you're doing good. Everybody says you're doing good, and they bench you. You're like, what else is left? Like, what else can I really give?
Yeah.
You really start to blame yourself and think like, is there really more that I could do?
Like mentally, for sure. I think it just messes with you a little bit,
Yeah.
whether you admit it or not. Like, I think it's just kind of subconsciously something that kind of fucks with you. But in a group where, I mean, they're stuck with Belgium and Slovakia too, and we're going to talk about that game. Romania have a great head start. Obviously, goal differential is going to matter a lot in this tournament because they have that third place spot that's also open for all the groups. But let's talk about that surprise real quick with Belgium. I mean, we were watching the game at Porto's during our meeting, and like, yeah, it was a great meeting at Porto's. But no, I mean, we'll talk about Lukaku's failures, KDB just running the midfield, but just no help pretty much. But first, let's talk about Slovakia. I mean, another team with bite and with hunger that seemed like they wanted it more, and they were clinical on the day pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, that was the second game today. Slovakia came out fighting. Obviously, Belgium was doing great. I mean, if you really watched the game, it seemed like De Bruyne was out there doing everything by himself, and for some reason, he was getting all the hate on all social media. Everyone was saying De Bruyne should just push for retirement or leaving, go learn Saudi, like go to Saudi Arabia. Like, if you saw him, he was just flowing the whole game. Gave me like a Toni Kroos type of vibe. He was really filtering all the passes out, and unfortunately, his teammates weren't there to help him. One thing that I want to touch on too, which is kind of like the England and Harry Kane situation. The Belgian team, or the manager, he has so much faith in Romelu Lukaku, and it makes sense. He's a veteran player. He's been with the team for a lot of tournaments.
He's the top goal scorer for Belgium.
Top goal scorer for Belgium. I get it. Just like it makes sense. Just like Kane, same situation. But the thing is, you have a striker in Luis Openda, who's had another not phenomenal season, but he's had a great season. He's a proven goal scorer, and he comes in the last 5 minutes. 6 minutes, and he's out there fighting for the ball, running for the ball, even though he didn't get much action. It's a situation of, why don't these players get that chance?
Yeah,
it's just teams are stuck with that mentality, like, okay, this guy has scored 100 goals for us. He's gonna keep delivering, which he might score a hat trick in the next game. He might shut everybody up. That's a Lukaku thing to do.
Technically, he did score, but it was considered.
He scored twice. But
it just didn't count. That's pretty much it.
But he missed also some sitters, and that's also about the confidence thing that Tomas was touching about earlier. A lot of people like to bash on Lukaku when everything goes wrong with the Belgian national team. He's usually the one that gets the finger pointed at first, even though today was a little bit of KDB. But I mean, you are missing those easy chances. You're missing them at club and country level. We saw that last year's Champions League final edition, where against Man City, he had a bunch of vital chances, and I believe it was that header. I think we were just talking about it earlier against Ederson, where it just unfortunately went right towards his feet. And for a striker to keep getting these chances over and over and over again and still missing these open goals, is it ever going to stop? Like, as a Belgian fan, how would you guys feel if you guys had Lukaku starting every game? Or, I mean, I get he's a proven goal scorer, but what do you guys think about him? Like,
I honestly, to be honest, in the early stage of Lukaku's career, I really liked him. And then he kind of turned into a meme, because I read like this tweet. I remember I was like in my sophomore year, that Lukaku scored more goals off of like a play that he created rather than a tap-in. And really, if you look at his game, it really is like he scores the difficult ones, and the tap-ins, he kind of just like, he leaves his foot too high sometimes. I don't know if you've seen those.
He's somehow he finds a way to mess up the easier goals, but he's a great goal scorer, like we said. I mean, how old is he? He's like he's still not even. I don't even think he's in his 30s. Let me verify that, because I know he's still pretty young. He's 31, so he still has at least like 3-4 years on him, and to be already like the top goal scorer for Belgium, I mean, that's a great shout in a country that has a lot of great players. But I mean, yeah, I agree that there's a lot of expectation on him. I don't know if it's just a confidence thing, or I can't really explain it, but I mean, at Roma he was doing all right. I know he had his moments where he was world class. His moments where he was a disaster class as well.
I want to ask you guys just a straightforward question, just one question. Is this Belgium generation cursed?
I think so.
Touch up on it. I want to hear your situation.
I think so because I remember that semifinal versus France. They played better than France. They were getting more shots on target. They were outplaying this French team in that 2018 World Cup, and one fucking goal by the French team, and they locked up every.
He
that-
didn't even play
He
anymore.
doesn't even play anymore. They locked up those France fucking locked up the gates. They went to a fucking 4-4-2, two fucking big ass blocks. I remember the two center forwards. I think it was it Giroud and Griezmann?
Probably.
I think so. They were running around trying to figure out how to stop KDB and stop this forward attack. And I just remember that game ended too early, bro. 5 more minutes in that game, Belgium ties it.
I have another question, but I'll save it after I give my response on this. Is this generation cursed? I think no. I think just mentally they're stuck. That's it. I think because there's so much expectation on them. I mean, as a player, when you're expected so much out of you and out of yourself, mentally, I'm sure that's going to take a toll on you. Because when you make a slight fuck up, or when you don't get the result that you need, like on today, you needed the people behind you. But when you have constant like press and media and fans just talking badly about you, I mean, you can only imagine what it does to a person's like self-esteem and character. So it's not that they're cursed, because obviously at the club level these players are world class. I think there's just so much pressure on the national team because they do have great players that there's like a mental block there ultimately. But I mean, if they can get their shit together in a few years, who knows what they can produce. But I mean, you never know what's gonna happen, like we've been saying.
Yeah.
Now another question that I wanted to ask. Do you think, I mean, I know Eden Hazard has retired technically, but he still could have been here. Do you think that Belgium could have done with the likes of Eden Hazard? You know, like Eden Hazard, like in his 2018 prime, not Real Madrid Eden Hazard, but prime Eden Hazard. I mean, do you think he could have at least helped this Belgium national team?
Oh yeah, for sure, of course. If you're talking about prime Eden Hazard, you're talking about before the transfer move to Real Madrid. This Eden Hazard, that Eden Hazard scores 2 goals today because of how open it is with the space that De Bruyne was creating. Imagine that space that De Bruyne was creating. You know, with the link up play with Lukaku and Eden Hazard coming in and shooting that. I mean, he's scoring at least 2 of those plays. And I mean, we seen the passes that De Bruyne was giving. Those passes were the IQ was so high, but just the players that he has are so young. Maybe they need a little bit of development. I know there was like a couple of plays with Doku where he don't really understand each other.
Yeah,
you put Eden Hazard in that position, he completely understands what De Bruyne's trying to do. So definitely for sure he would have improved this team.
How about you? What do you think about that?
I thought at first when you asked that question, I thought you were talking about Eden Hazard right now, like retired. But if we're talking about Chelsea 2014, 2013 to 2016, pre-Madrid, the pre-Madrid days, yeah, 100%, man. This guy, you're talking about a guy who would just run through teams for fun, who just said, let me help Leicester City win this fucking title. Tottenham, nah, you ain't getting no chance. Let me just end you guys single-handedly in a game. I remember that game, they had like 11 yellow cards handed out. It was just a crazy game. But definitely. Eden Hazard would have single-handedly scored at least 2 goals with that Kevin De Bruyne behind him, and whether he subbed. Were we talking about in place of Lukaku or Trossard or Doku? Just in general.
In place for Trossard.
It's a player who was filtering so many goals for Diego Costa, the Chelsea team, who wasn't always the best striker, but he was still always in that golden boot race. And who's always like, obviously he had Cesc Fabregas behind him. We can go so deep into detail with this team, but to answer your question, yes, 100%. They would win that easily.
I feel like Eden Hazard gets so much hate because to my cousins, he's a fucking meme. Because my cousins are like 10, 11, 12. I think the older one was like 15. Yeah. So he's a fucking meme to them because he's known as the guy that spent 4 years at Madrid just fucking getting paid one of the highest salaries and literally just they would say robbing the club. But if you go, and I showed them I remember this Eden Hazard highlights, and they were like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, he's low-key better than Messi. And I don't know if he was better than Messi, but he's the closest thing we've seen to the talent that Messi had, where he would dribble towards forwards, fucking nutmeg them, cut out, and fucking put it top left. It was insane how good this player was, and it's just sad how hard his downfall was because of the injuries. And
maybe even current Hazard could have done a little better than what we've seen from these guys right now. But
he's a little chubby.
Yeah, but I mean, say if he prepared himself mentally and physically for this tournament, who knows? He probably could have done something. But I mean, that's all speculation. Like we said, he is retired, so that's just the unfortunate truth for this national team and for Belgium, Slovakia. Congrats to them. Great result, and ultimately just a big shocker. And I think it's going to be very interesting tournament for them as well. So keep an eye on them. Now, lastly, the France Austria game. You said it was a sleeper. I agree with that take. It was just kind of choppy, pretty much. Austria looked a little bit more dominant, especially towards the end. It's kind of similar to the England game where France were just asking for that final whistle to be blown because there was really nothing else they can give. Mbappe missed a sitter. I think I'm gonna ask that question kind of later on, but first let's talk about the game.
I mean, a game that started off not with the most excitement, just regular passes back and forth. But Austria had that chance. It was in the 36th minute where he was one-on-one with the keeper, a beautiful set off from Sabitzer. And to me, it seemed, I know you said it looked like a shot, but to me, it seemed like he wanted to touch it around Magnan and try to get an easy finish. Like you said, even if he would have got that off, he probably would have got stopped by Saliba, who was everywhere this game, like the likes of N'Golo Kante. But that just shows how vital that miss was, because as soon as that miss happened, they got a counterattack to the right side. And what happened? They scored an own goal, which eventually ended up settling the whole game. And of course, I kind of agree with Tomas's statement. It was kind of a sleeper. I mean, every time Dembele got the ball, you would expect something goofy to happen. I mean, like
even his substitutes, like the people that came on for like Colomwani, for example, they had some goofy moments. I think just the front line right now, they're not looking in sync. Kind of what we saw with PSG, like between Mbappe. That miss by Giroud was pretty big. But I mean, going back to that Mbappe miss, I think ever since that transfer rumor with him in Madrid heating up, and now that it's secured, I haven't seen the best version of Mbappe. I think it's been a minute since I've seen his best version.
Yeah, I mean, even for PSG in the ending of the later phases of the Champions League, I wasn't even impressed with him. You know, in the Barca games, he does score, but he's really unimpressive the whole game. I mean, he loses the ball so many times. Granted, it was against Ronaldo Araujo, but still, you'd expect more from a player that, you know, made it to back-to-back World Cup finals and, you know, won one of them. But I was thinking right now, like if I was in a coma from 2017 up until 2024, and you told me that this France team or that this generation qualified to back-to-back World Cups, I wouldn't believe you. Because I was looking at the lineup and I was even telling you guys, this is a really, like, this lineup doesn't scare me. Like if I'm England, if I'm Germany, if I'm Italy, I'm not afraid of this lineup. I mean, what do I have to do? Lock up Mbappe, that's it. Lock up Mbappe, throw the key away, and that's it. I mean, Dembele, what's he gonna do? He's gonna sky the ball 4 or 5 times. Give my player some rest. The only way that Dembele will perform is if you put Austria and Barcelona jerseys. That's the only way that you'd get him to perform, really.
I don't know. With France, like it's just unimpressive overall. Really unimpressive. Austria, they just look like they wanted it more. Definitely unlucky. I think they're just missing a little bit more top level quality. I mean, who was their striker that came on? Arnautovic. He's good. He's not world class though.
That's the thing. They just had to take those shots. I mean, we saw them trying over and over and over. But like I said, to me, that game should have been a draw. It should have been a draw. Yeah. Unfortunately, the own goal ended up being the settler for everything. But this France team just doesn't look exciting. If anything, this Austria team looked more exciting. They seem like they might push through as a second place team.
Yeah.
Like they have the likes of Sabitzer. We saw players, who was it from Bayern, Leimer, like just doing great in the midfield. Every time there was a sloppy ball in the midfield, they were the ones beating the French midfielders. Obviously, N'Golo Kante was everywhere.
I think N'Golo Kante, I think he's probably the best player for France right now that I saw.
Exactly, and then the likes of Camavinga coming off the bench, right? He was off the bench. Like I just don't get these coaches. I don't know if it's just me trying to be foot manager over here, but just these choices that they're making where they start players who are playing in Champions League finals, doing amazing for their clubs off the bench. Yeah. And I get like the coaches have their own systems, but
like, why would you bench Camavinga for Rabiot? Who, I mean, the national team, he plays decent. He's a solid player, but Camavinga is a young, exciting player, plays the Champions League regularly, more than Juventus, obviously. Yeah. But, I mean, come on.
I think these coaches are just either stuck in a system where they're playing the players that they're used to playing, which really is a failing tactic because players age. So that's one point. But then as a coach, you have to pick the team that gives you the most functionality. And if it's not your best starting 11, you need to find a player that fits into that scheme. And this team isn't it. France needs a lot of help. I don't know why Camavinga's not getting a chance because he is a better player than Rabiot. And I mean, you have players on your bench that are better than the one that you're starting because there's no reason. I don't know.
I think they were also. My bad. I'm gonna take this real quick. I think they were really missing Giroud up top, so someone to hold him to play. And now he came in towards the latter stages of the match, but where he really can make an impact. And yeah, he did miss a sitter. But I mean, you give him that chance another time throughout the match, it's gonna finish. He's gonna finish it, even at 37.
I remember in past competitions, I really like that Giroud Griezmann double 9 link up. So maybe you could get away with it one last tournament, but France needs to start looking elsewhere for their players.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps up everything that we've missed out on since the Germany-Scotland game. So just kind of to wrap things up, favorite team so far? Who's kind of left you the most impressed out of these current matches that we saw, besides barring the Germany-Scotland game, because that was an impressive result from Germany, but we already kind of touched on that.
I'm going to go with my favorite team to watch was, I think, Italy, just because of defensive solidarity and the way that they were able to reply to an early goal from Albania. They didn't sit around and wait a little bit. They didn't moan about it. They, got straight to it. And I forgot, it was a center back that got the header. What's his name? Bastoni. And then that wonder strike from, what's his name? Not Chiesa. Barella. Nicolo Barella. It just shows you how fast they're able to reply. And yes, since Italy has a defensive footballing culture, obviously they put those 2 goals in and they kind of not sit back, but they take the ball away from them. They stand with solidarity. They don't allow them to attack them so easily. So that for me, if you can't attack a team and you can't defend well against them, then you don't have anything on them.
What about you, John?
I was gonna say Italy as well because I love the way that their team flowed and played within the first half. I mean, you had Pellegrini, Scamacca, and Chiesa all showing up up top. I mean, you have a striker now who's not afraid to shoot the ball. We were just talking about this earlier. We have a big man, a natural striker, like Jerry was saying, who was not scared of Virgil van Dijk or Konate, the likes of these big men players at Liverpool, and went to Anfield and scored a hat trick like it was nothing.
Yeah,
at club level. And we saw him yesterday, even though he only had 3 shots, he was still taking these shots on. He's not scared. If he has an open shot, he's gonna take it. And that's what Italy needs, because I believe if you could think of any Italian striker the past decade, what comes to your mind first?
Graziano Pele, but he was in world class though.
But who? Why always me?
Totti.
Huh? Totti, but like you said, past 10 years, right?
Yeah, since the 2014 World Cup. I was getting more about Balotelli. He was the more well-known one. He was the one that was obviously at the big clubs, scoring the bangers, I guess you could say. And that's what Italy's been missing. They've always been known for having their amazing defense. We can go back to the Barzagli, Chiellini days, obviously Maldini. They've always had the most, Cannavaro, the world-class defense, but they've always not lacked. They've always had, they've won World Cups. But the past 10 years, we haven't seen them at a World Cup since 2014. Yeah. They still had Pirlo playing. They had likes of, Buffon playing. This is a generation who was a young Bonucci. They had a team who has been failing lately, and now they went down 1-0 at the beginning, but they showed resilience within 20 minutes. They're already up. They're already ahead. And you can say it's just Albania though, but no, this Albanian team was showing strength. Like I said, their whole country was there. They have heart. They were playing with all their gut, and this Italian team was not stopping. Even once that second goal went in, they were still going at it over and over. Chiesa, like you said, shows up for the national team for some reason. He was going crazy. Yeah. And Pellegrini was getting, I don't know how many shots he got off because he was going off. Their defense was pushing up. We saw what's his name, DiMarco, getting over 75 passes. He was just going crazy. He kept pushing up, finding those plays. And just to keep it short, I don't already went too much. This Italian team is exciting. I'm hoping that they go back to back. It's as simple as that.
The only thing that I would disagree with is just how they ended the game, pretty much. Just because Albania did look like they were about to tie the game. I remember that one shot that Donnarumma just kind of tapped with his like
Yeah.
rib basically, and they didn't give a corner. So they could have easily drawn the game, Albania. But I mean, other than that, yeah, I mean, Italy are a solid team. I think the other team besides Germany that have really impressed me is Spain, because I mean, from the first minute to the 90th minute, they're very consistent. Although it wasn't the perfect match. I mean, Croatia weren't the best, like we said. They're not in their best
I
version.
mean, if Croatia were more clinical, they would have tied Spain. They have the same amount of opportunities.
Mhm.
Spain was just more clinical, because if you look at it, they have in the first half, Spain scores 3 goals in the first half, correct?
I think it was 2 or 3. Then
2 or 3. Okay, Croatia has 3 clear chances in the first half that they just squander. Yeah, I mean, just check that real quick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, in the first half, because I remember Carvajal's goal was a third one. So if Croatia is just more clinical with the opportunity they have, they tie Spain, but Spain is more clinical. So Spain gives up chances that a big team will take advantage of, and they also
we saw that,
have an
like-
attack where that I mean, well, if you pair like Italy versus Spain, which we will see in this group stage, you'll see how Italy defends better versus the Spain team.
Going back to what you were saying, like you put a world class team. Not saying Croatia aren't world class.
A world class
But
attack.
A world class attack. We saw that in the friendlies at Wembley when they played Brazil, I think,
Yeah.
and it was a 3-3 game because I mean Brazil have a world class attack with Endrick, with Rodrigo, Vinicius.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's going to be a lot more difficult for any world class team or world class attackers when they come up against Spain. Spain are definitely going to struggle because defensively they're not the best.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I like about the Spanish team is that they've kind of switched that system of playing back and forth and right to left to this very pragmatic style of play, so more very direct. And we saw that with that first goal, that ball from Fabian Ruiz into Morata, like literally straight through the middle.
More of a Real Madrid style. No disrespect to Barca, but it is.
Mm.
We see that at Madrid, they kind of adapt to the team that they're playing at, and it's like three, four passes, and it's not how would I say? It's not surprising because think about it. The veterans 4 to 5 years ago was, Piqué. 4 to 5 years ago, well, in the past 2 World Cups, the veterans were, Piqué, Xavi, Iniesta. So obviously the style that they kept was kind of like that Barca-like style. Now the veterans are Nacho, Carvajal, a couple of other Madrid players. And obviously the style is more, let's go forward. If it's a team that opens up, let's go forwards. If it's a team that stays close, we'll keep the ball a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like that Real Madrid style where they adapt to the team that they're playing against, and they kind of go our strength versus their weaknesses rather than our strength versus their strength.
And they're definitely playing off of the strengths of their players. Like when you have Nico Williams and Yamal, who are very quick, direct, like pacey type players, you can play them in behind. You don't need to play them like to their feet, like right away. You can play them in behind. They'll get to that ball no matter what. We saw him, Yamal, for example, at 16 years old, cooking up Guardiola. Like, yeah, Guardiola's world class. And we know that where he is world class, but what Yamal did at 16 years old is just insane. So I think there's a lot of future within this Spanish team and just in this tournament alone. I mean, I know you had them as a disappointment, but I kind of agreed with that take because they are underwhelming. They are underwhelming, but they did win the Nations League. Whether you want to agree or not that that's a big tournament or whatever, but it's a glorified friendly. So a lot of people say, but I'm gonna leave that there. I do think they're gonna be a team that are going to be very dangerous moving forward. But now let's talk about a disappointment, and then we're going to end off with our favorite goal, and that's pretty much it.
Well, sorry about that. Well, before, I had said that England was going to be my disappointment, and I just, to keep it short, I still think it's that. I'm not going to change my opinion.
I don't doubt that.
I just still think it's England. This first game, like I touched upon earlier, showed me everything I needed to know. Gareth Southgate is scared to play the players that he needs to play in order to get that more secure victory. Obviously, he still won, but the challenges are only coming. It's just your first group stage game. You really want to make it to the final. Good luck. I'm just going to keep it at that.
Yeah, I mean, you still have the likes of Denmark and then Slovenia, I believe, right? So it's going to be definitely very difficult. I'm going to agree with that take. I know I had Denmark as the disappointment, but England, because of the names, the star 11 players that they have, it's going to be very difficult for them to really make it.
No, I completely agree with Jonathan's take because that England team didn't deserve to win that game. Yes, they get that early goal because of Bellingham's intuition, but there wasn't a clear way of a style of play for England. It was kind of like all over the place,
Mhm.
where Phil Foden's kind of doing his own thing on one side, Bellingham's fucking fighting with everybody and fighting every ball on the other side, while Kane's literally just watching him. And there's not like a kind of like a fit game plan that you see with Italy having, Germany having. I mean, even the likes of Albania, even the likes of Austria, they defend very well. Whereas England, it was kind of Bellingham was high pressing and Kane was kind of just watching him, or Kane was floating in between center backs and Bellingham was kind of dropping back. And just that's terrible to have in the team where you don't have an idea of what you're doing.
Southgate, this one's on you. If you guys do not make it to the final, you guys do not win, that's on you at this point. Can't blame the players, and I hope the fans do not blame any of the players. This is on the manager because of his stubbornness, because of the fact that you have world-class players and you don't want to play them in their best positions. That's all on the manager right there.
He has a losing contract, bro. I'm telling you. He has to lose, bro.
Now, to end everything, because I know it's kind of getting late, favorite goal of the tournament so far. I'm going to first go mine, and then we'll just go like this. Mine has to be that Romania goal, that first one. Although it did come from a Lunin mistake, I think I think it was the first touch. On the first touch, top left, absolute banger. Really cool.
Nico Varela reaction, outside foot. Period. Nothing.
Yeah, honestly, for mine too, it was also Italy, just because of the fucking strike, bro.
Mhm.
The fucking strike from Nicola Varela. And what it means to Italy in that moment, because
The reaction.
the reaction, bro, it's fucking crazy. It was insane.
Just don't think about it. Have a crack at it. Goal.
So let us know what your guys' favorite goal of the tournament is. Let us know what you guys think about the setup. I think for the next few podcasts, since I am going to be at the Euros, so pay attention to that. It's going to be a lot more difficult for this, but kind of moving forward into the future. Let me know what you guys think. For the next few podcasts, like I said, it's going to be on StreamYard, like on normally how we do throughout we've been doing. But make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Follow Charla Football website, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff, because we're going to be posting a lot more content, especially with Copa America right around the corner. Follow us on our socials. I'll make sure to tag that down below, and support your small creators, because one day we're going to make it big, and I want you guys to be a part of that journey. So thank you guys so much. Thank you guys as well for helping me out, and we'll see you guys on the next one. An hour and 2 minutes.